Two, three. Welcome to another episode Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Maeve.
Hi, Robbie. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Even with all the stressful computer issues.
About 20,000 computer issues. Oh.
You know what? Technology can be so advanced that it can solve all of our problems, but it creates them all in the first place. So it doesn't make any sense now, does it?
It's got its pluses and minuses, that's for sure.
Well, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
So I guess I've traveled around a bit. I grew up in Louisiana, lived in New York for a few years, and now I'm in Colorado Springs. Um, I, I don't really know what to say too much.
What are your interests?
What are my interests? Fine arts. I'm majoring. I'm a 30-year-old undergrad right now, majoring in fine arts. So that's my main thing. And then traveling.
What do you consider fine arts?
Anything from sculpture, painting, drawing, physical, like putting it down on paper or canvas, anything like that.
The stuff that's extremely difficult to do. Like, have you ever noticed any of the Greek statues? I'm a fitness guy, and let me tell you, all of them are ripped, like chiseled to the bone, and all of them show a certain body part where a lot of the times we would cover it up in society. But I'm like, it's nice to see a nice chiseled statue with, obviously, the artist spent a lot of time on the crotch area, because that thing is like perfect to a point where you're like, it's even got the little bit, the slight curve, I don't know if that's just me that admires that. My art history teacher was like, what are you doing? Like, you're picking out the weirdest things. You could, the curls, how much time the artist spent in the curls, but you're just going straight to the crotch. I'm like, look, it's there.
Yeah, why not? They put the detail into it.
He could have saved like maybe 3 hours just skipping over that area, making it like a,
like a Ken doll.
Yeah, but he didn't. He sat there and crafted out the time and crafted out this masterpiece. And sadly, I'm just looking down at his nether region.
Well, it's kind of like the Venus where, she's got the little like slit and everything.
I look at like that type of art, and then like, even pastel art too. Like, that's, oh my God. I wish I had like half the talent to be able to do that. Like, all these people that draw comic books, all these people that do sculptures, woodworking, anything. I just sit there and I look in amazement. Like, it's weird to see the comparison from when I was a kid to where I look at it now. And I'm like, wow, I actually truly enjoy looking at this and seeing, not staring at the dick, but more like I'm enjoying the actual full-on art. Like, even a birdhouse. I built a birdhouse. I killed 3 birds with the birdhouse. I forgot to curve the nails inside the birdhouse, and I guess they were flying around in there, and it wasn't mine. I gave it to my buddy's, put out in front of his house because he lives out in the country. I figured, hey, get some use out of a birdhouse. And his dad was like, you killed 3 birds. So I was like, what?
So you're not killing your own birds, you're killing other people's birds.
It's called population control. I know you do a podcast with Cass, but so what exactly is this? I know it's the swipe and sip, but what exactly do you bring to the table?
I am the more sexual side of swipe and sip.
Explain the sexual side.
So whereas Cass has been in a relationship for forever, or until recently, with a just terrible person, I have been single for pretty much the past forever. I've had a couple long-term relationships here and there, but for the most part I've been dating a lot. And so I've probably racked up close to 50 sexual partners. So
Whoa.
Yeah. So I bring a lot of that knowledge to the table. I've had some weird experiences. I'm actually working on writing a book about kind of how hilarious some of this has become.
I need to ask, what's a weird experience? Because my mind just goes and wanders to at the capabilities of what you can find on online websites to, I don't know, people's kinks are crazy. What really gets, I get it. I'm like, hey, if that's you. And honestly, I applaud the people that could express that in public. Just be like, yeah, I like to get stepped on in the balls. Like, I'm
Oh God,
good
no.
for you. Like, you should be president with the amount, like, no other dirt could we cover up about you. Like, that's just, you're being honest.
Yeah, you're just keeping it right out in the open. Oh
Like
no,
a Greek
so
statue.
exactly. Bringing it full circle. No, so my favorite to bring up is actually whenever I went to a swing house, which is a house for swingers, and singles who want to come and participate and stuff like that. And my favorite was the voyeur room where people could sit and watch. So
Oh, oh, wait. I have heard about watching before, but there's a legit room where you can, it's all
there
in
was
the
a
open.
legit room.
That's
Yeah.
like being the guy that lives in a glass house and you expect people not to stare at you. Like, oh, I got the cops called on me because this dude said I was staring at him through his house. His whole fucking house is made of glass. Don't get a house made of glass. It doesn't make sense. When you come in, you literally are putting on a show for everybody, unless you got like the Area 51 or like the bomb shelter blinds that just shut down like a metal door.
Or that dark tinting where you can see out but not in.
My gym has that. It's the weirdest thing because they don't know how much I'm slacking off behind the counter.
Nice.
I do have to ask though, what would be in your mind the weirdest thing that you've come across sexually?
um that's a tough one.
Does it involve fruit?
I can't say that I've really come across fruit too much in my sexual experiences.
You might be looking at the wrong people. I consider it a party when somebody breaks out a pineapple. I'm like, oh, it's going somewhere.
I have seen a video about a grapefruit, but other than that.
I have too, and let me tell you, grapefruit is disgusting. It is nasty. It shouldn't even be a fruit. It should be known as an acid, like a battery.
I can't imagine why you would want that on your genitals, but it's out there.
It's a rocket ship. You ever see that meme? They memed her mouth noises with a rocket ship. It is the
Oh
funniest
my
thing
God.
I have ever seen. It's like 3, 2, 1, take off. I'm like, yeah. Oh, I hate grapefruit, but this is hilarious.
That's amazing, and I can totally picture that.
So I do have. Come on, you got to share the craziest thing in
Okay,
your
so,
experience.
well, let's see. So far, my no-go has been I've had multiple people request for me to peg them, and I have refused that thus far.
What do we mean by peg?
A girl with a strap on doing a guy.
Thought you were talking about like let's put a pin in that, but like let's put a peg in that and wait till
Yeah.
later. That's the weirdest thing you've had.
Oh, that's the weirdest thing I haven't had. The weirdest thing I have had. Oh, no. I
Any
don't
like
know.
because all right, so I'll give you a movie for example. I think it's called Bad Dad with Robin Williams.
Haven't
So
seen it.
the son is into erotic asphyxiation, and he's like in high school and he's jacking off, and his dad comes in
Oh
and sees
no.
him doing it, and he's like, what the hell? And the kid's all freaking out like, daddy, he's got a belt tied around his neck and stuff, and he's yelling at Robin Williams. Robin Williams is like, sorry, I didn't know. And like they're driving to school and he's like doesn't want to talk about it, so like they're
Yeah.
sitting there like, have a good day at school. Then he comes in like another day later in the week, and it's happening again. He opens up the door, goes, oh God, man, really, just clean it up. And his son's not responding to him, and he goes, what? And he walks over to him, and the kid's dead, and he had killed
Oh my
himself.
God.
So his dad has to clean up all of his porn, and then also grab the kid, his son, and grab him with the belt and all, and tie it into his closet to make it look like he hung himself.
Oh no.
So people
Yeah,
didn't
so
think
it's not just like I accidentally
fuck.
killed myself while
That's too.
masturbating.
Where would your extent be to? That's as far as I'm going ever.
Okay, so you did kind of trigger. So my weirdest experience was I was a sub in a relationship at one point in time. I was the submissive, and in that situation, you get extremely addicted. And so I was obsessed with the guy that I was with, and I would have done pretty much anything that he said. And so he brought this other girl over one time and had her blindfolded. She had no idea that I was there. And he had her like do things to me, and I could obviously tell that this girl was not bi at all. And it was extremely uncomfortable, and I still feel guilty to this day for putting her in that situation.
This is like, I have so many questions. Like, first I was gonna ask like what was the weirdest thing, and then before you answered, I was gonna be like, is it anything with food? Not like pineapple. I just can't see food being in the bedroom. I know I wouldn't want to put whipped cream on anybody. Chocolate syrup. I'm sorry. I heard it's good, but I
It's so
can't.
sticky.
I'm very OCD in life. I couldn't imagine what it would be like with it. Like there was toppings all over the place. I'd be at like a fucking Baskin Robbins. Like
What are you gonna do afterwards? Sleep in a bed where there's chocolate
gummy
on the sheets?
bears, like fucking drizzling down. It's Willy Wonka and the sexual experience. Uh, okay. Have you ever gotten to like mass foreplay at all?
Oh, what do you mean by that?
Like masks, gimp
Oh,
masks,
masks?
whips, chains.
No, God, no.
Okay.
I'm just the farthest I get into like BDSM is being tied up, blindfolded, extreme case nipple clamps, and there was one time that my breasts looked like eggplants because they had been beaten so hard.
And that's a good experience for you.
This again was whenever I was the submissive and would have done anything that he said.
You really kind of put the twist on like some guys like me, like when the girl engages first. I'm a big proprietor on like I'm not going to get rejected. I will just sit here and wait. And if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm okay with
I'm usually the one that goes ahead and asks someone out first.
that. Would you say that you surprised? Because I mean, the kind of the point of the podcast too is like Cass was in a serious relationship that kind of had this horrible, horrible thing happen, and you guys reconnected after kind of not talking for a while. And you kind of come at her with these experiences and kind of stories. Does she have a lot of questions? Because it seems like you're the wild and free one, like that one's like that's kind of done that. And then she's kind of like has oats to kind of sow, it seems. So it seems like you're answering a lot of the questions. I mean, for me too, I'm so basic in the game. My first sexual experience was right after the purge. So there might be something down that road that leads into something, but I don't want to chase it down. I'm not into that. But it's interesting because whenever it comes to sex talk, which is like kind of a little bit about your podcast too, it gets people's ears in this weird like state of like, oh, you're speaking the something that I haven't heard in my virgin ears, and it's
Yeah,
like
the things you're not supposed to talk about.
like, what do you mean? The reason why we aren't supposed to talk about it is the fact that we stigmatized it so much. You should talk about sex. Honestly, it should be educated more in school. I had a
Oh yeah.
fucking horrible video. It was supposed to be for middle schoolers about like the transformation into turning into a man or turning into a woman, and the fucking awkward cartoon was just around the corner, just around the corner, just around. I'm like, what the fuck's around the corner? Like my house is like 3 blocks down. I don't know what's around the corner. I've really never paid attention when I'm on the bus, but like you have questions about stuff. And I even in my health class, you get one health class freshman year, at least I had, and the teacher the whole entire time she was feminist. She did not
Oh
like
no.
men, and our whole class was dudes. And
Oh no.
it was all just research papers about like what the anatomy of the body. And then at the ending, she's like, now I'm going to show you everything that you signed a paper in the beginning say that I was going to show you throughout the whole entire class. And it's nothing but blue waffles and all these things. And we're all like
Oh, horrible.
traumatized, like, holy shit, this is what we're, and like, honestly, the fact that more people, like the reason why they always talk about millennials, like a lot of them are kind of really connected, and a lot of them stay home and they don't really go out and experience anything, like a large amount of the population, just because of video games, being confined to where the era of technology is. They're afraid of sex. It's a thing. Like
Oh yeah.
in my mind, it fucking Flounder, the thing from like Stranger Things. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like, because that's how it gets displayed in a lot of, I don't know, everything that's involved into our culture. I mean, it's just this thing that's kind of like secreted, and then it's supposed to be like this amazing experience. And there's so much pressure on this one moment that's supposed to change your whole entire life. When you find the person, you find the person. And then you realize in society nowadays that finding that one person doesn't lead on for too long, or it could be multiple people. It could be about just expressing yourself and finding out what it is, which is interesting that you said you're the sexual side of it, because of the fact of you can use that into your art creativity. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
have you ever tried like releasing the sexual side with paintings, for instance? Like my example would be like The Big Lebowski, where Maud is doing painting naked and doing all this very vaginal art. And it was like, oh wow, you can actually put like some type of emotion, not like creativity or Bob Ross style happy trees, more like sexual side of things.
Yeah, no, I actually love the concept of combining sex and art. A lot of, I guess I kind of have this conundrum that I'm dealing with right now, or like internal issue where it's if, and it's even with the podcast too, is what if my family sees this side of me? Like what if, that's how I end up being known? But it is like a huge part of me, and so bringing that into my art, like I've done that, and it's been so much fun.
Now, how far have you gone with bringing it into your art? Like, what are we talking about? Like, I know I'm not gonna say you're drawing fruit, because that would be fucking terrible. But are what types of like? Give me an example of an art piece that you've done where you've kind of released yourself a little bit, that side, because I feel like a lot of people are pent up that way, especially with guys. Like you'd always tell when someone's a little bit more angry, like I'm a little bit more aggressive. They're kind of more built up, locked down. Um, it's so stupid. Like you kind of mentioned the fact of like you don't want to see your family, that you don't want them to see you in that way. We don't want to be known to be porn stars, but there's a whole outlet for it out there, and we all watch the videos. It's like, but nobody is afraid to be on camera or something. Honestly,
Yeah.
I might even do it. That's a quick way to get famous. Like if you look at everybody that wants to be famous nowadays, it's like just start an OnlyFans and start sucking somebody's toes.
um So the farthest I've really gone was some drawings I did of my ex and I, where he was like going down on me, and it was just kind of this like spiritual experience. So I kind of had like this aura emanating from my head and stuff like that. And then I have a series of paintings that I've planned out, but I haven't actually begun them. Kind of symbolically explaining some of my encounters with past guys, and like whenever I almost got arrested and stuff like that. So
Wait, you almost got arrested?
yes, for having sex in a public park.
I can't judge you for that. Like most people are going to be like, what, in a park? It's like, I pissed next to a park. You can get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
I think, okay, all right. I'm going to ask where the weirdest place and the weirdest story you have. It's a sexual story, okay?
Okay.
Do you want me to share one of mine, or do
Go
you
for
want
it.
me to share one that I saw? I wasn't watching on purpose, but I had been skating and I came across one, and I was like, what the fuck's do you want? Which one do you want? Which one?
The one you saw, because it sounds like it's juicy.
Okay. So I was skating in my town. It's a beach town, probably 2:00 in the morning, summer place. So kids always coming down and, doing whatever. Skated by this truck. And I was like, the fuck is it rocking for? And I was like, oh, like someone's like cranking out the music or something. I was probably 15 at the time. So I skated by and fucking, it was fogged up because, you
Yeah.
get the heat going.
Oh yeah,
And a
absolutely.
fucking ass, a man's ass, bam, right against the thing. And I'm like, huh! And then all you like, I ran like, started skating towards my house, and now I'm appearing towards the front of the truck. So I was coming off
Yeah.
from the back around the left side, the driver's side. And I'm going to the front of the truck, and I just see this bald dude with glasses staring at me through the fucking dashboard, and this girl like with her head popped up like that, and I'm like, ugh! And I just keep going, and I hear the car door open, and he gets out and
Oh
starts
no.
yelling and shouting at me, saying, "Hey, stop!" I'm like, "Fuck that!" I'm booking it. Like I got music in one ear, I'm listening to my favorite band playing this song called "Down, Down, Down," and oh god, it was tragic. I remember I wanted to tell my dad too. I ran in the house. I was like, "Dad," he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Never mind,
Never mind, nothing.
not sharing that one."
Why would he get out and try to call after you though? That's ridiculous.
You want to make $20? I got a camera. I'm good.
No, thank you.
I still remember it to this day. I remember the exact pier, and every time I drive by that pier, I think of that moment, and I realize like nobody else was going to share that besides me and those two people.
Oh my goodness.
Your
That's pretty fantastic though.
It's your turn now. You got to share me a
Okay.
story. I want either a juicy one that happened to you, or one maybe were you a watcher at any point?
Okay, so I've already gone towards the voyeur room at the swing house, but there was one instance where it began as a threesome.
Oh,
Um yeah,
how did
and
that get
one of
set up? Because I've been trying to get one go. I feel like it's too much pressure. I like peer pressure mostly because it makes me do things that I don't want to do. Like try
yeah.
this joint. Okay. Try cocaine. Okay. Try PCP. I don't know about that.
Oh, hope not. No, it was said Dom, and he had a friend who was a piercer. That was her profession, and she was moving, and she really liked going down on girls, and so she wanted to go down on me, and so it just kind of, I don't know if you can say naturally developed, but it just kind of happened. And then one of my friends at the swing house was like, "Hey, can I watch?" And after a while, like I had the one guy on me and I had her on me, and I just kind of pulled the other guy in, and so now I'm in this foursome where three people are just showing me all this attention, and that was extremely interesting and kind of fun.
So you actually like that. I feel like that's too much pressure on one person.
I mean,
Nobody stopped and got Capri Suns at any point to rehydrate.
it didn't go on that long. It's fine.
I I guess there are some people that just aren't super sexual. I guess I feel like that's like me. Like I don't mind it. Um, it's nice to be able to have. Obviously, I have my moments where I'm like, all right, let's get it done. But it's like I don't know. I'm more about like the whole lead up to it, like where it comes into messes and stuff. And then I figured out like the fruit thing. So it leads back to the fruit thing. Pineapples, for instance. We
Killing me
use
with the
these
fruit.
we use these terms to classify body parts though. Eggplants are obviously men's region.
They're
Peaches. Nobody knows why a peach is the whole thing of like, cunnilingus, all this other types of stuff. Why is it a peach? And a peach is because it's seen as God's fruit and its juices represent the perfect description for a woman's body parts. I fucking Googled it.
okay. I was
So
about to say you're very educated on this.
I had to because I was like, why is it a peach? Why? Like it could be
See, I
any other
think of a
fruit.
peach and I think of an ass. Is it the shape?
That's what I thought too. But then it was like, no, it's supposed to represent the juices, all this other bullshit I mentioned before. I'm like, yeah, honestly, if we really depicted things, like, is it common in the art field that you're kind of studying in more of like the hands-on physical art? And a lot of these people kind of have the same interests, like with the fact of being physical. I feel like people are physical with the work they create, or they're mental with things. They like to think a problem through, solve it like on a computer or something. But then there's people that like to get down to the nitty gritty and work with their hands. Like I see a dude digging trenches. I'm thinking that dude loves fucking whipped cream, everything, Miracle Whip, mayo, everything all over the sexual bedroom. He doesn't care about it getting his hands dirty. You know what I mean?
I can see that. I'm not really sure that I've come across much commonality in artists and their motivation. I have had one friend who is very sexually based in her artwork, and she puts it out there. And I think that is kind of beautiful and fantastic and so brave.
Why do you,
But
I know you consider it brave, but why do you think society is at this point where that's seen as vulgar, or that's seen as rude, or that's seen as something that might shatter our virgin minds, even though they're not that virgin?
yeah, that's because, I mean, you're going to get me on a whole soapbox there. Uh, with our, I guess, oh, I'm blanking out. Um,
Welcome to Out of the Blank, yes.
so our duality, we have this, I can't think of it, but we have a strong sexual side where we push for, attractiveness and flaunting your body and putting it out there, but at the same time you're supposed to kind of have this virgin mindset where you are pure while you're also flaunting your body for everyone to see, and trying to make yourself a sexual object. And that's just kind of the complex way that in America, at least, we kind of look at the body and sex, and it makes no sense. What?
Have you ever taken ecstasy or Molly before?
Uh, yes and no.
The reason why I asked that is because the way you were just describing with the duality and kind of like this sexual side that we kind of need to unlock. If I'm kind of catching on that hint a little bit, there needs to be a little
Yes.
bit more openness towards it. That happens when you take ecstasy or Molly. People that have ever taken that before, like my cousin has all these. I mean, he's tried basically everything under the sun. He's tossed out, like, I think his salvia story is probably pretty nuts. Living the life of a
Oh yeah.
carrot for 3 months is fucking insane.
Okay.
But he had like ecstasy on him, and I guess it's Molly is what it was, but it's like
Yeah.
pure cut
It's
ecstasy.
like the same thing. Yeah.
And he had 8 tabs. He's like, let's go do it and go in the woods. I'm like, what? And he goes, you don't understand. This unlocks so many things about yourself. You realize that all these things, these physical things, the male, the female, all this stuff, it all breaks down into a deeper layer of a connection, a sensation, an overall experience. And I'm like, listening to him talk about it, like, yeah, obviously you've been to way too many Burning Mans, but from hearing a lot of people talk about their experiences with it and then kind of realizing what the effects of it do, it really kind of takes down the shambles of these things that we built up as a society to create. I'm not pro doing every drug in the known universe, but I feel like we've been living this really, really shitty matrix code for a very long time. And why is sexual stuff so like, it gets people's neck hair standing up, it gets their ears all perked up, it gets them like they want to duck down and hide. I'm like, express it, because everyone has that side. Like I talk about, everyone's got a kink. Everyone's got one thing. Like Jim, the normal fucking Jim doesn't have a kink. Jim probably likes a fucking cinder block being bashed on his head while he's tied up and thrown into a pool. I bet you, because even the normalest people are hiding something. We see that was a big thing with Catholic schoolgirls. They had this whole thing that told them suppress it, suppress it, suppress it. Then it breaks out because it's something you can't keep on locks forever. You can go months and months and months without a sexual release, but eventually it's going to build up to a point where you're not even thinking anymore. I think on a clear level. Now, you can call this bullshit or not. I literally had to tell my cousin, hey, I'm planning on masturbating this day of the week. And it was like 4 months out. He goes, why 4 months out? I was like, because I need to. And he goes, why? I ended up finding that I have kind of like this back issue where my pelvic floor muscles, all these things are completely ripped. So I don't get the urge like a normal person does. And I burn off a lot of my testosterone in the gym. So it's like a double whammy.
Wow.
So I don't ever get the strong urges. But one day out of a couple of months, I get this strong fucking urge where I'm like hitting up everybody I would never hit up in a million years. Girls I haven't talked to in years. Like I'm about to send them a message, about to send them this. I'm like, hang on a second, handle this yourself and then see if you're still thinking that way. And most of the time I'm not. I feel like a lot of the times the society, we're thinking on the mindset of with our dick, at least guys are, but we don't ever act upon our urges and we suppress that. And it's like, you should never catcall. You should never come out and attack a girl, hey, and then, do any of that. That's how you get Bill Cosby charges. But you should express love. You should express compassion, empathy, all these things that are all intertwined. Empathy is like a lighter form of sex. It's like sexual mouth pleasure. You're not going down on somebody, but more oral, I guess, appeasement. When you talk to someone, a good conversation, you feel charged, you feel an energy. That's the same thing it should be in the bedroom. It shouldn't be awkward. It should be two people connecting on a level that only they should be experiencing. And if you want to throw others in, sure. But spread the love. You can focus in on two or one person.
Yeah, I absolutely think that it should be more of a connection, and I think that a lot of people don't view it that way. They just kind of, I don't know, sex is separate from a connection, like a not even just love, but like two souls kind of understanding each other. I don't know if that's getting a little out there with it, but
Well, I mean,
uh
would you say that, like, it's obviously not the same as the first time? Probably gets better, in some people's opinion, but I would look at it like it probably gets worse. I feel like a lot of the times the interconnection, the trying so hard, I mean, the kind of the realness of being there. Like, a lot of people, porn stars, for instance, I look at that, I'm like, you're mindless. You're not into the thing sometimes. There's the
yeah,
connection seems to be off. That it seems like Bill
you
Burr
lose
has
that passion.
yeah, Bill Burr has a joke where he considers your soul like pixels, and every time something dirty on the internet gets looked up or something dirty happens, a little bit of those pixels float off.
That's a completely fair assessment. I can picture that. I feel, that little soul part of my soul just died.
Do you think at any point you're going to be able to maybe express yourself a little bit more, maybe have that openness with your family? Do you feel like they would really judge you for it?
So it depends on what part of my family. My dad and stepmom know that I have a dating podcast, but not that it is about sex as well. My mom knows that I have a sex and dating podcast, and is supportive, but doesn't really want to know about it. And then my sister's completely open, and she's aware of everything that's going on. She's actually kind of our best judge, because she listens to podcasts all the time, and so she kind of gives us feedback. So
What I consider kind of a weird thing that I think we need to take down out of all this is not just only the education of this to younger people, but also the lines of, why is it seen way worse when a woman thinks about this and talks about these types of things, and a man, I know you agree with me on that. It's
no,
pretty,
I do.
I'm pro people. I understand the women thing. I understand the men thing, but it's like, it's a little bit more stigmatized. And I had somebody tell me that, like, I said, if a guy, you know, he fiddled around with a younger girl, an underage girl, that guy would be buried, hung, anything at the worst extent. But if a woman did it, it's seen as different. It's weird and stigmatized in two polarized different ways. Like, we don't treat it the same in that era, and we also don't treat it the same if a woman goes around saying how many sexual partners they've had. They get looked at as a whore or labeled a slut, and then a guy looks at, like, all right, and gives him a high five. It's like, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, and it's kind of interesting because I've been way more sexually experienced than most of the guys that I've met. But guys still have that, I guess, that appearance of it's okay, or they're just naturally like more sexual, whereas most guys I've actually met didn't lose their virginity until they were about 24. But uh
Have you started to realize that it seems like you built it up more in your head, especially when you're younger, and you start to realize as you get older and older that, like, who gives a fuck? Like, who cares that I'm worried this much about it? You know what I mean? Like, even me talking about something like this on a podcast, sharing my experience, sharing, whatever. There's people going to listen. You can choose to sit there and think like, oh my God, like, what are people going to think of me if I share this story? Or just live. Our life is so fleeting. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, if I had the artistic talent, if I had the swag, if I had the Austin Powers fucking mojo to be able to do whatever, would I? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But he's open as fuck about it. And maybe it's because he's a guy. But also, I feel like you built it up so much in your head thinking about, why are you going to worry what other people think about you if you might not even see that person again? You might not even meet that person.
Yeah, I used to keep a list of all of my like sexual encounters, and then after a while I had to stop because it was getting in my head. And like now I kind of wish that I had kept it because, just knowing who, and like for the sake of record, kind of like just knowing. But at the time I couldn't handle that. Like I couldn't, it was because of what other people might think, that I'd had so many sexual partners, that it made me uncomfortable in, I guess, what other people might see me as.
Have you ever tried kind of figuring out why you're into some of the things you're into?
I know exactly why I I have come to where I am, and that is preteen trauma. And so I lost my virginity at 14, and a lot of that
What?
is, yeah, yeah, to an 18-year-old. So technically, it was illegal. So, no,
I just want to say good on you for pulling an older guy, as long as you were condoling with it. Um, and I
eh,
also, okay, now I changed my mind. I'm gonna say that's fucking horrible.
yeah, no,
Um,
he definitely pressured me into the situation. I regret losing my virginity at that age, and mostly to him. And if I were going to lose my virginity at 14, I wish it had been the guy before him because he was a much better person.
is it possible to lose your virginity on monkey bars? Or, yeah,
What?
I heard a girl at my school. She was taking a gymnastics class. She hit her crotch on a
Oh,
beam, and they
oh,
said that
because it broke her hymen.
yeah, and they said she lost her virginity. Is that true?
I think that is a very archaic term of losing your virginity. That kind of brings it back to whenever they would, I guess, kind of examine the woman prior to marriage to see if uh, her purity was intact. Like I think now the definition is, and at least kind of should be, intercourse. Or I feel like a lot of people use the loophole of
So
they're
are
not
you
having
saying
sex.
count it or don't count it?
I wouldn't count it
Okay, that's another
because
thing
that's
to.
just the breaking of a hymen. That can happen in like so many different ways, like horseback riding and stuff like that.
Is there a way to tell if a guy has lost his virginity, or you just gotta look at the nuts and be like, this thing is beat to shit?
I don't think there's a way to tell other than maybe bragging about it.
I know. Around when they're 13 years old, so you just start checking on them. That's when it starts. Those middle school years.
Oh my gosh.
Ah, man, why does it have to be this thing that's so stigmatized? I feel like at one point I was going to get into porn, and I said not now, but if I turn 26 years old, if I don't have anything going for myself, I was going to do it. And now I realize, like, why not? It's an easy way to make money.
I used to consider, whenever I was younger and thinner, stripping, and like I still have conversations with Cass sometimes about, is stripping feminist or not? Like, is it degrading to women or is it empowering?
I guess it's really what kind of life needs is a different perspective on things. Is kind of looking at how you do that. Like, people consider homeless people fucking homeless people. I consider them expert minimalists. Um, and you see a hobo smear shit on a wall. I go, he's a painter. He's expressing his art, and the wall is his canvas, and his shit is his paintbrush. sometimes it's what's needed. If you look at strippers, for instance, or prostitutes, not prostitutes, let's just stick with strippers. That's a safer bet. Uh, Go to a strip club. It's guys that are applauding and throwing cash and all these things that are literally so consumed by a woman's appearance, which it's feminist on that aspect of why does she have to be judged on appearances? But if you got, I mean, I know people. There's a girl, for instance, that went into my work, and you could tell she's lived her whole life off her looks. But now she's kind of getting older; it's fading away a little bit. So she hired a trainer to keep her in gear. Not smart at all. I mean, literally like model stupid that you would find on a TV or movie. And I don't mean that to be mean to her. She's nice as hell, but it's like you could tell that she didn't.
She didn't have to.
her husband's older and pays for all of her stuff. Literally
Yeah,
everything, $100 payments, like it's nothing. Drives a nice ass car because she's learned to live off the looks. Is that a bad way to live? I mean, it's not one that I would want, but if you got the cards for it, fucking flaunt it. Pam Anderson knew that one. I mean, women that look at like, oh, they're just looking at her because they're attracted to her body. But she doesn't feel that way. She feels empowered. She feels like she can control and get what she wants with what she has. More power to you in that way. I think the whole world needs a whole perspective shift. We're really
I
in this
feel
dynamic.
I feel like in a way, people who are in that position, or even living off of their appearance, um, I see it as their body is their canvas. That is something they put time and effort into. Like it takes a lot of energy in order to keep up that appearance. Like it's I envy it. I have self-esteem issues because of it, but kudos to them for like putting, like makeup or hair care or nails, getting your body tan just right, keeping thin, whether it's through, fitness or um, sadly often eating disorders. Uh, they put all of this energy into their appearance, and most people, well, not most people, but people who don't do that are putting their energy into other things. But that's where they put their energy. I think that's, I guess, it, it's sad that we put that much emphasis on appearance, but since we do, kudos to them.
I want to get to the point in the world where I know it's probably never going to happen, but sweatpants confidence, where we can destroy this barrier known as self-esteem. This thing that destroys it, I would say, not destroy self-esteem. I think it's important. You need to have your self-esteem, but to destroy this thing that holds us from chasing after something we want because either we're afraid we might fail or afraid what other people will think of us. There's a point, I think, in my life where my cousin kind of said to me, he said, why do you care what these people think of you? You're not going to meet these people 5 minutes from now. They're not even going to matter.
Yeah.
Uh, and for a person like myself, that is body dysmorphic. I wait till the shower mirror fogs up before I even hop in or take my clothes off. Uh, and I have a six pack. I'll sit there and flaunt it, but I don't go and show it around. I don't do any of that because I know I have it. And it's taken me a long time to kind of realize the appearance thing didn't really matter when it came to myself. Uh, the deepest connection I could find with someone that would understand what that was like was a transgender person that explained about being uncomfortable in the skin that they were born with. I was massively bullied as a kid for being overweight, and eventually I joined this fitness journey that's taken me every day for 8 years. That was an unhealthy thing. I'm still doing it, but it's my therapy. It's a point where we're afraid of other people looking at us in this weird light, even though we treat others like shit online. So many people turn into this anger, turn into this hatred, turn into this spiteful demon. And does it matter that you have Brad Pitt looks? Or should it matter that you have a Morgan Freeman personality? Something where people will enjoy being around you and care about you. I've met some of the nicest people that are not fucking good looking, in my opinion, at all. But that's my opinion. But
Yeah.
people tend to blast their opinions and let it be known. And I look at that like, you're not making the world a better place by saying that to them. Like bullying, for instance. growing up with that, kids making fun of other kids to the point of where they commit suicide. We're breeding this generation of copycats trying to look like the next top models. Follow real bodybuilding pages, people that show you this is when after a workout, I'm fucking shredded. But then I eat a meal and I'm bloated. And I'll post a picture of that and say, hey, there you go, six pack's gone. All that you saw earlier is gone. You need to show that side of things because through social media, it's all about putting up the best picture of you possible, where
Yeah.
it's going to breed body dysmorphia throughout this whole entire world.
Yeah, I used to struggle a lot. I actually probably have a better opinion of myself now than I did whenever I was 18, 19, and pretty skinny, a healthy skinny. But whenever I was in college, even I mean, not that it was intended at all, but because we were all body dysmorphic, Cass and our other two friends, they we had one friend who was teeny tiny, looked like a Barbie doll, and pretty much every morning, if not absolutely every morning, she would look in the mirror, she'd be perfect and gorgeous blonde, and she'd go, I look like shit. And she did that every day, and all three of them were skinnier than I was, and would always talk about how fat they were. And I actually I thought that I was like horribly overweight, even though I was probably 150 pounds and 5'4", which is just a really healthy place to be. And that's actually my goal now because I'm on a weight loss journey. That's my goal to get back to.
People, probably hear me talk about it enough about how much I work out or something. I post pictures of a six pack on my personal only to show that it's about consistency. I'm not the hardest. I'm not the strongest. I'm not the fastest in the gym, but I just have gone every day and I've committed to it because it's something that brings me a physical release, a therapy release. I mean, fuck. You talk to me if I like, for instance, tomorrow or something, if I'm doing a morning shift at work where I go into work at like 3 a.m. or something, I don't get to work out first thing in the morning like I like to do. It's like checking my phone, gets me leveled throughout the day so I can handle all this crap. I'll get pent up. Somebody will say something to me like, can you believe that these people in here are not following your protocols with masks? And I'm like, are you fucking yelling at me about this? It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Fuck off. Like, I'm like that type. But then after a workout, I'm still leveled headed to where I'm like, yeah, well, I'm sorry that you feel this way. Is there anything I can do to help? And it's because you built up something. Everybody's got a form of stress relief, whether it's painting, whether it's swimming, whether it's whatever. Nobody's going to understand the fact that social media has done this amazing thing of leaving a mark, but it's not in the best way.
No, I actually avoid social media for the most part because that and the news, like, and pretty much all like magazines and anything like that, because it'll bring me down. It'll change my mind frame. Like, I know that it affects that, so I don't feed into it nearly as much as I used to.
And they say body proud, body image strong, support curves, all these types of things. It makes me question, are they doing it because they actually believe it? Or are they doing that because it makes them look better in the light?
I have a lot of uh, mixed feelings about that because, as a, I guess people would define it as curvy. I know I am overweight compared to the normal.
This is where someone corny would come in and say you're beautiful. But from a honest perspective, not trying to sound like a modest, not trying to sound like a nice guy or something, you are in the image of what you want to be. And if you feel comfortable in expressing yourself in that form, then do so. Nobody can fucking tell you how you should look. Nobody should tell you how you should look. We built a society upon that.
Well, thank you. But I mean, I know that like, or if you're looking at the body mass index, that I am like overweight, and people want to call that curvy, and I feel like curvy is a completely different thing. That is a body type. Uh, Whereas, I think we want to disguise it so that it sounds better, so that our self esteem does get better. And I am completely supportive of that. Like, if you please, no matter what size you are, find yourself beautiful, find the things that are gorgeous about yourself inside and out. But I don't, that's another thing, like with sex, I don't think that we should hide it and pretend that it's something that it's not. Um, be proud of who you are, but at the same time, support health. Like, try to be a healthier person inside and out. And I don't know, I think that we shouldn't necessarily reward obesity, but at the same time, we shouldn't demean people who have weight issues.
Because understand that balance is there needs to be a balance there. What happens is when you shame somebody so much to the point that they are so upset they can end up taking their own life, or they could get to the point where their distorted perception of themselves could be that they could end up just starving and starving and starving and starving and starving and creating real problems with their body, creating real issues and a whole distorted perception of themselves to the point where people are like, wait, you're skinny, you're skinny. It happened with me. I was a chunky kid because, I hit my growth spurt. I hit puberty. I got taller, but I went down from eating like a bag of Doritos in a sitting just because I was a kid and you could do that.
Yeah.
If I did that now, God, oof. But I mean, I ended up eating an apple a day, like just a small apple, one apple. I was living off that, and I got taller and I got skinnier, and I joined a gym, and I had to bulk up from that one apple to 3 or 4 meals a day.
Yeah.
That was the fucking hardest thing ever. And now it's like, I have my eating times that I like to do because like I can eat, a tuna salad or something and I won't get hungry until the next eating time. It's like right at that second, like right before I'll be full. And then that second hits. I'm like, I need food now. It needs to happen because it's just been trained for so long. But the balance I'm saying is between two sides. There's the side where people tell you you're skinny, 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 that you need to put on weight and you feel bad about your image to the point where you have to gain a whole bunch of weight, trying your hardest, and sometimes it doesn't hit, and then it all hits you at once. Or it comes from the other perspective of you're too big and you lose weight. Why can't if you're at I mean, healthy weight, obviously, you don't want any health complications. But if you feel amazing, you've had this fucking bold confidence and you have this strength and you're not suffering from a health issue where you can't breathe or something, you should be able to walk out of your house. That's just fucking, I consider
Yes.
that a health issue. But if you're happy with that, be happy with that. Why the fuck have we gotten to the point where we need to assert ourselves and everything? The world's all about comparisons. I work at a gym. I see it 24/7. Constantly people that are working out, trying to check themselves out, doing tricep dips or something. They're looking over at somebody else and comparing themselves to that person. It's all a giant comparison thing. That's why I
Yeah.
choose to work out first thing in the morning when nobody's there, or, in the middle of the night or something, because it's a free range of you're not going to be able to put in your best work if you're thinking that everybody's judging you. It's like having eyes on you. You're never going to truly be an express of yourself. Maybe that's just because you can't commit to knowing that people are going to look at you and who gives a shit what other people think. But it's also a point of we shouldn't be in a society where you should feel judged at every turn.
Yeah, I'm much happier now. I mean, I'm on a weight loss journey. I'm trying to get healthy, but at the same time, I am much happier, and I guess I have a better image of my body now at around 200 pounds than I did whenever I was, 18 to 22, where I was 150 pounds. And I thought that everyone was staring at me, judging me every second of the day, and I hated my appearance. And like, I could wear the things that I wanted to wear and still feel terrible in them. Whereas now I can't even buy clothes that look good on me half the time because they don't make them in larger sizes. But I feel better about myself and I have the internal self confidence about my personality and who I am. So that, I guess, and then people see that. So on, the one hand, fuck what people think, but at the same time, if you love yourself, then people are going to see that.
Would you say that the world needs less exposure and more expression?
I do like that mind frame. Yeah.
I feel like I've kind of gave free motivational speaking to the world right now. We both kind of have. That's $39.99 people could pay here. Nah, I won't. I feel like that is a whole other road if you want to go down with me. Motivational speaking. People that charge fucking $24.99 to give you motivational tips on how to succeed in life. Oh, just give it out for free. God, everyone is trying to survive. That's why a lot of people don't choose to, if people don't protest about things, it's not that they're trying to be quiet. It's that, like, we're all just trying to make it into the next day. And that shouldn't be life. It should be this amazing fucking peach or pineapple, whatever you want to call it, filled with the juices we're all trying to get. That's a beautiful way to end it, wasn't it?
That was pretty fantastic.
Well, do you not, like, do you have the links and everything to promote your podcast, or is that Cass?
So I can go ahead and go for it. It's at, well, you just follow Swipe and Sip Podcast on any social media. You find us personally at SwipeCast and at Swipe Maeve, or you can email us at swipeandsippodcast@gmail.com.
Is there, like, somewhere we can find your art?
My art is the Ethereal Pegasus on Instagram.
It's a fucking amazing name.
Thank you.
It's like the dude that walks in, like, my name's Beowulf. You're like, whoa, if a bear breaks into this guy's taking it down. I'm a Greek mythology nerd, so I'm like, those types of old school style names like Perseus and all these things. I'm like, yeah, that's my kids right there. I'm going to name them Da Vinci and all these things where people are like, what's your name? My name is Beowulf. It's like, oh, well, I'll make sure to stay away from you for the rest of the school year, mostly because you'll probably kill me.
I would be completely intimidated by someone named Beowulf.
Well, thank you for listening to this episode Out of the Blank podcast, and stay tuned for our next episode.